Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Primal Chaos here. And if anybody saw my Polyphia review of the song Goat, you'll know that the song pretty much blew me away. It was super exciting to watch. And it was in no small part due to the creative way in which these guys have discovered to use their instruments. Mostly Tim Henson, who I've done a bit more of a deeper dive on now. I sort of understand where he's coming from a little bit more. I've watched a few interviews and some, hangouts with him and notably Rick Beato. A lot of people have seen those conversations and stuff like that. But what I really love about his work is that it's twofold. One, compositionally, it's very different because it seems like what he does is he'll go into his studio and he'll record digitally through programming and stuff like that, the basic outlines of the songs, and then he'll figure out how to convert those notes into guitar, which is a completely different sort of mindset for guitar composition, and hence why you get such original compositions out of him. Second of all, he just has this ability to look at the instrument and see something different to everyone else. And that's always really exciting. So, yeah, like this has been an interesting journey. Like I've only heard Goat so far, but I've definitely gone through and sort of tried to figure out what makes Tim Henson tick in particular. Now, let's not forget that the rest of the band are stellar musicians and stuff as well. But as a guitarist, that's kind of what I latch onto. And he's more prominent in the media as far as like, interviews and things like that. So, but man, I'm super excited to get into more of their work. And by far and away, the most highly recommended song from you guys is OD. So I'm going to check that out now. And fingers crossed, I'm as blown away as I was the first time. Let's take a look. Wow, that was a great pause. This one's going to be a tricky reaction video because you know me, you guys know how I like to roll. I don't like to just sit here and go damn and stuff and show the excitement of hearing the songs for the first time. Where I like to sit more so is to offer extra value in the way of insight and stuff like that. But this one's going to be tough because there's so much going on. It's hard to pick up anything. It's just just my mind's blown. What am I going to do? I don't like. I'm gonna have to go back now and listen to it from the start because there's just, to me, it's just randomized chaos, and in the best possible way. I don't mean that in the negative way. I mean like this. Stop it, Tim. You're ruining my brain. Let's go take another listen because damn. All right. First of all, I really love the aesthetic of the clip too. That's really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there, but all right. Again, I mean, the thing I'm noticing again is the guitar sound is kind of more of a percussive clean sound. There's a little bit of grit to it. But I feel like that's more just to give it some character more than anything else. But just some of the runs in there and like the timing changes, in the melodies and stuff like that, or the little hooky bits. Again, it's a 4/4 groove as well, but it's just like they're just accenting crazy accents, but just the way that they'll just quickly go from like this pretty strict percussive sort of to like some really fluid legato run in the middle of it, like, you know, just the coordination that requires it's just stellar. These guys, I mean, I can't say enough good things about their playing, and I sort of covered that in the last video, but I think it's going to come up again. Oh, okay. I think he might have an octaver effect on there, and that's part of the reason why it sounds so percussive. You can sort of hear like a lower octave in there, and it's kind of, it makes the voicing of the sound a little bit more unique as well, because it's a bit punchier than it should be from just a clean sound. Or, hang on, maybe they're both playing it in different octaves. That's probably what it is. No, it looks like they're playing it in the same position, but or maybe not. I'm not sure. But there's definitely more than just a single guitar part going on. Obviously, they're both playing it, but it seems like there's some more skullduggery in there, to my ears anyway. The drum groove, come on. Those triplet runs, man, far out. I don't know who to listen to. This is the problem. I figured out what it is. It's not that there's so much chaos going on. It's just everybody is so good. I don't know where to listen. I can't cover everything. Like the drum grooves are just so lyrical, I guess is the best way to put it, right? There's so much drama going on in the drums. It's so much push and pull energy and little splashy cymbal hits and just like ghost notes and things that are all over the place that are just like, it's just so, the only adjective I can think of is delicious. You know what I mean? There's so much for you to grab onto with your ear taste buds, you know? But then obviously there's such staccato sort of guitar runs, but then they'll just embellish that with just really, I mean, they'll just shoot off on a tangent real quick and just do some really beautiful legato playing and then back to that sort of staccato sort of push-pull energy, you know? I mean, you just never know which way's up with these guys. Let's go back a bit. And I mean, look, just the fluidity with which he switches between techniques, Tim, on the guitar, where he'll just be doing these crazy picking routines and then just straight into tapping. Like, and I mean, you should be able to do that. Like, you should practice comfortably moving between different techniques and things like that. But he just makes everything look so effortless, and it's for somebody who's always feels like they're trying too hard to play guitar, watching someone play so effortlessly is just, it's like, it just seems unnatural, you know what I mean? But it's something definitely to aspire to. Are you guys hearing these hi-hat notes? My God. Watch, whenever you see the drummer, just keep an eye on how he's playing the entire kit. It's just, you know, I also want to point out how clean that drum sound is. I think I noticed that in Goat as well. There's really it's a really dry kit, and that's in no small part designed to allow you to hear everything, right? So, you know, when your snare is awash with like reverb and you've got a lot of EQ and stuff like that on there, it's sometimes some of those little ghost notes and stuff like that can be harder to hear in the mix. They're all still there, but you just sort of like, with all of the instrumentation going on, and then you've got all of these sort of volumetric effects, like reverbs, like emulating the spatial characteristics of everything, or spatial effects, I should say. You just you can lose a lot of stuff because the focus is taken off them, whereas every single ghost note and hit on this drum kit is completely obvious, and there's a lot of compression and things like that. It's not raw, it just sounds natural. You know, they've designed the drum sound to sound punchy but dry and very natural sounding. So, you know, and I feel terrible because I haven't really talked much about the bass playing, but suffice to say that it is equally as complex and equally as tight and nuanced and dynamic as the rest of the players too. Like, he's just, every once in a while it'll catch my ear, because I tend not to focus on it because I'm a guitar player, so it's hard to sort of switch out from that. But every once in a while I'll just hear what he's doing in the background. I'll be like, man, he is just in the pocket, like super tight, you know? And it's a bit sad because, like, with bands like this, it's real easy to overlook certain band members because, you know, they tend to not be the focus, or even just from like a social standpoint of like public awareness, they can tend to sort of fall into the background a little bit. I'm sure he's well known amongst bass players, but he's pulling his weight every bit as much as everyone else, and it's amazing to see. It's a masterclass. Wait, so this must be fairly old. Because I'm fairly certain Tim's got a neck tattoo now, right? Am I crazy? Sorry, let's go back. I love those little woodblock hits. They just, the tuk tuk tuk. It just, I mean, the sound already sounds highly organic, which is unusual because of, you know, there's a lot of guitar effects and stuff going on and things like that, but it's just grounding the overall percussion sound with just like a wood hit, you know, like a tuk tuk tuk. It just, for whatever reason, it just sort of engages you on sort of a more analog level, if that makes sense. I'll jump back. What is that sound? What's that guitar sound? If anyone happens to know what's going on there, have they got like an auto wah on? It just sounds choked. It's got like this sort of, I don't know. It could just be one of those random patches in. I think he uses a Kemper, but it could just be a random patch in that where the sound's just been completely sort of messed with. But it's sort of, I can't put together what's going into making that guitar sound like that. drum sounds changed through that part where they sort of bring in the band. Everything slowly starts to ramp up, and I feel like the snare sound gets a little bit more grease on it. I love it when a band's not afraid to augment what they're doing with electronic elements. It seems like the par for the course these days, because everybody has at their disposal an amazing music production device, which is a computer or a laptop or something like that. And nowadays, you're spoiled for choice with an abundance of amazing drum programming systems, sample libraries, things like synth sounds and things like that are readily available. There's some really wonderful, expensive ones, but there's also an infinite supply of amazing sounding free ones as well. So the cost of admission isn't much at all. But, to be able to sort of seamlessly transition from obviously real live instruments, acoustic drums and all that, then to sort of subtly blend into drum loops and synth sounds, when your band doesn't have a synth player, and all that, it doesn't matter anymore. Like it used to be that you had to make sure that whatever you were recording, you could reproduce live. That was kind of like the gig, everybody sort of expected that. But nowadays with backings and all that sort of stuff, it's not an issue anymore. Like it's not, nobody sits there. Nobody has ever gone to a show and, that had world-class production and, things like backing tracks with choral vocals and things like that. Nobody's ever gone, man, I wish they didn't do that. I wish that the gig sounded too amazing, And so it's interesting that these guys will put that front and center. Like they've all walked off stage now, but the song's still going, But yeah, really, really cool. Let me jump back a little bit because I want to sort of dive into this. See, even the bass is synth. Where exactly did that come in? Okay, so it all just happens. It's interesting. It's got sort of like that trap energy, just the backwards synth sounds, stuff like that. It just sounds a little bit tormented, you know what I mean? Ugh, nice run. All right. Whew. Stick around after this for the summary. All right, guys, a lot of you out there are colorblind. You may not even know it. 1 in 6 guys, 1 in 200 women are colorblind, and there's something you can do about it. Click on the link in the description. It'll take you to Encchroma's website where you can get an eye test and find out what kind of deficiency you might have. While you're there, you can pick up some corrective lenses, and they've got frames to suit everybody and everyone's style. So, and also, if you use the code CHAOS in checkout, you get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos at you. Okay, one thing I wanted to talk about first with this is something that probably not a lot of people discuss. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the music video was probably shot by the same person who made Goat as well. There's a lot of similar elements, like these choreographed camera tracking shots where the band members walk in front of the camera and are in different scenes and stuff like that. Also, I noticed that there's an amazing use of like light sort of tone. You know, like for example, in these sort of indoor garden shots, it's very washed out and light colored, but then later on it goes into sort of more of a dark space, which is a little bit more evil. You got the doll heads and, you know, the TVs with the animal eyes blasted across it and things like that. Like the imagery is almost as virtuosic as the actual playing, you know, which I think is fantastic. But it just seems like possibly that they've worked with someone to make their clips. And I'd be curious to know about that. If anyone knows, let me know. Okay, so obviously musically, as we've discussed, these guys, I guess the best way you can describe the overall sound is just clean. The playing is super clean. There's not a single note is missed. Not a single note is misheard. You know, everything's right there front and center. It's a wonderful mix. Everything's locked in like with Loctite, you know. But look, these guys, they just hear music differently to everyone else, you know. There's bands that have come before which have like similar concepts of rhythm and harmony and you know, just the tightness they're playing and stuff like that. But what always amazes me with bands like this is, I think I read somewhere these guys found each other in high school. I'm not sure if it's all the original members. Okay, no, it looks like Clay on bass is from 2012. Whatever. How did all of these people find themselves? Is one of them great and it pulls everybody else up by the bootstraps, like they have to be as good, so they practice harder and work harder or whatever? Or is it just by sheer nature and, you know, serendipity that like these four guys just find each other and they just all happen to be as amazing as each other? Like it just, boom, you know? Because if you just got a random assortment of musicians in, like, I'm not talking about people who find each other in like Berkeley or places like that. I'm talking about like, I'm sure these guys met in high school, you know? Like, what are the chances that these four musicians were in the same high school at the same time, like interested in the same style of music? You know, it just, there's something about it that just strikes me as being more divine than that. Like, it's like, there has to be some sort of like a ethereal tampering to, you know, to get all of the pieces to fall into place. Having said that, it could just be random chance. Like there's for every person with a guitar, there's a band. You know what I mean? There's always like, there's hundreds of millions or possibly billions might be pushing it. There's hundreds of millions of bands in the world right now. And most of them will never see the light of day. And so I guess maybe the cream rises to the top and you get these situations where just by random chance, four amazing individuals found each other. And of course they're going to get a higher status because they just refuse to not be listened to because they're just better than everyone else, you know, that sort of thing. So, yeah, but you know what, like, look, to me, how I relate to this on on a listener level, to me, there's just so much for my brain to dissect as I'm listening to it. And this is definitely not a band where your first instinct is an emotional connection, right? It might be on the level of sort of like you see the brilliance they're playing and you connect emotionally to that, or it could be, you know, melodically they're very strong, but I don't think that's what the hook is with these guys. I think the hook is that they're just phenomenal players. You know, like typically with a band, the first thing people connect with is the vocalist and the melodies and stuff like that. And so like, that song speaks to my soul, you know. These guys, because they don't have that vocalist, they have to rely on their virtuosic sort of playing to engage the listener, you know. And I've read some comments from people saying, man, what's great about it is I don't know anything about music or anything about playing, But I can understand that something special is going on by listening to it. And that's sort of like that's demonstrative of them being on a different level, you know. It's easy to get a band of virtuoso sort of players, put them together, and every musician talks about them because, you know, they're like the latest sort of industry darlings of everybody who plays an instrument can listen to them and pull something out of it and go, wow, that guy's intense. Another great example of that, like remarkable players, that everybody, all the musicians on the forums suddenly when they blew up started talking about, and it was probably Dirty Loops. They got famous on YouTube quite a few years ago because they're like an acid jazz show band kind of three-piece. But they would do these crazy sort of jazz funk versions of like pop songs like Britney Spears or like Bruno Mars songs or whatever. And, you know, they just did a run of, like, they just did a set live in the studio of like filming video clips, and they just released them all back to back. And they were standout musicians. Like the vocalist has a range that's, you know, the likes of which has never been seen in funk jazz, you know. The bass player, Heinrich, kind of stands out more so because of his appearance as like really sort of metal in a funk jazz band. But his playing is stellar as well. His thumb is sensational, you know. But it's the same sort of thing where you just get these bands that sort of rise up because all of the musician community wants to geek out about them, you know. And to a degree, like Polyphia is going to be the same, obviously. But there's definitely some elements to it that you could connect with if you weren't like a nerd geeking out musician, you know. Either way, look, these guys, they're sensational. They just are. What do you want me to review next? That's what it comes down to. Because like, there will be more. And you know what? If you guys don't tell me what to listen to next, I'll probably just listen to them in my own time. Damn the torpedoes. All right, guys, as usual, if you feel like I've brightened your day at all, feel free to buy me a coffee. There's a link in the description. I have been noticing the donations, guys. I know that I put this up every video, but every time I get a donation, it still blows my mind. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I would really love to do this for a living one day. You know, so I appreciate that so much. If you just want to stick with supporting the channel, like and subscribe. That's always helpful. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. But yeah, send me more Polyphia. Thanks again. I'll catch you guys on the next one.